Well, first of all, thanks for having us here. I'm actually quite a bit honored to be speaking here, as my background is in philosophy and political science. So a few years ago, I would not have thought about speaking on an event with such a high technical level as today. So that's pretty cool to me. Anyway, my name is Regtuijt. I'm a business developer at GUTS, Tickets and Get Protocol. We aim to create a worldwide honest ticketing market. I will be telling a little bit about the business side of what we do, and Kasper, my colleague, our blockchain developer, will dive deeper into how we use Petri nets in order to overcome scalability issues, for example. A bit more background about GUTS, what we do. GUTS was founded about 2.5 years ago, completely free operational ticketing company, and we're also the initiator and first user of Get Protocol. Get Protocol is, so to say, the blockchain engine in the backend that we use to facilitate ticketing, and is available for any ticketing company out there to also integrate with to level up their ticketing as well. So what's the problem that we're actually solving? Up to 40% of all tickets for popular events are being bought up by professional resellers, then oftentimes being resold immediately at high markups, up to 700% or even higher, without adding any value to the whole value chain. So basically fans and artists are being ripped off as we speak. So we think that's not good, and we came up with a solution. It looks a bit like this. People go to our app or our web app and they buy tickets with any kind of payment method that we currently provide. Credit cards, PayPal, ideal in the Netherlands. We even implemented Bitcoin payments recently. So people then get access to a QR code that will only become visible a few hours before the event actually starts. This QR code is dynamic, which means it changes as a function over time and owner. So even if you screenshot it, then you will not be able to attend the event or enter the event. When you're not available anymore, or you don't want to go to the event or change of schedule, then you easily put your ticket up for sale, and you will be automatically refunded whenever the ticket is resold. So there are a few things that I would like you to remember about what we do. We eliminate ticket fraud and high prices at the secondary market because we dictate the rules of both the primary as well as the secondary market. Because of blockchain, basically, we have the audit trail of the tickets from the moment the ticket is issued until the last one is scanned, which means we have fantastic data, which makes it very easy to do follow-up marketing for future promotion, for future events, for example, or even crowd management, community growth, and even dynamic pricing. These are not only promises, we are completely live, and looks a bit like this. Our biggest sale to date was last June 1st. About 80,000 people visited our website around 10 a.m. in the morning when the ticket sale started. We sold, only 19,000 tickets were available. So we sold out in the blink of an eye. We're not only really proud of that, but it's also a reason to scale up, which we are going to do for next week, for example. We will sell 35 shows by Jochem Meijer. If you're not Dutch, you've never heard of Jochem Meijer before, but he is a pretty well-known Dutch comedian, and he will play 35 times in Carré, which is one of the largest and oldest theaters in the Netherlands. So really looking forward to that, but if we're talking about scaling business-wise, then we also need to talk about scaling on the blockchain side. Because you can imagine if we would ticket an event for 60,000 people right now and we would push all these transactions on the Ethereum main chain, then the whole chain would be clogged immediately. So that doesn't work, and also our clients, they don't care about blockchain whatsoever, they just want a functional product, so they don't care if it works. So it's also good to emphasize that we currently use a hybrid solution, which also has is partly centralized, but we want to implement more and more decentralization into that, because we believe that the customers don't need to trust us as a ticketing company, but they need to trust the blockchain. So we are very familiar with blockchain scalability issues. So we have been looking around, and it was last March that we were in Austin during South by Southwest. Then we met Jelle. And from then on, yeah, things were starting to come together. And Kasper will tell you a little bit more about how we try to overcome these scalability issues using Petri nets.
As Sander says, noted, we are quite a problem with scalability. Actually, it's a funny story, not really funny story, it was quite tragic. When this happened, this was a sale for only 2 shows, and we're going to do 36 next week. When we did this, all our runners and our servers were all busy trying to register these tickets that were sold for only 18,000 on the blockchain, but the blockchain was completely jammed. We basically DDoSed the blockchain in like 10 minutes. And then all our clients were jammed in the tickets, in the chart, in the cart of the tickets. So that wasn't a good experience. We got about 300 support tickets in less than 1 minute. People asking, I'm not getting an email, I'm not getting SMS. So that's when we really realized from, okay, if you want to really make this decentralized solution to ticketing scalable, then we cannot rely on the scalability roadmap of Ethereum. We really like Ethereum, but at the moment, if you want to sell 50,000 tickets, it will be about 400,000 people hitting our application in less than 10 minutes, all getting an Ethereum wallet, all having to register their address, and all having to register their tickets in less than, maybe less than 30 minutes. We need a real solution that will be able to compute that, to do that logic safely and very fast, and only register with what is really necessary on the blockchain. So we started working with Statebox, and we started actually looking at, okay, what is really necessary to register on a blockchain? Because, as you can imagine, we have centralized competitors, like Ticketmaster or Eventbrite, and they do all their logic in a centralized manner. And they do that because it's really cheap. And if we would do everything on the blockchain, registering a ticket would cost us like 10 cents. And the margin on tickets is maybe 20 cents. So that wouldn't make us competitive at all. And if you really think about it, not everything needs to be done on the blockchain. Only maybe the ticket price, or the resale price, or the owner, or if it's still valid. And in a way, we started thinking about. This is, by the way, how a ticket works. So you see this QR code changing all the time. This computation of this changing QR code doesn't really necessarily have to happen on the blockchain, of course. That would be just doing stuff on the blockchain just for the sake of doing it on the blockchain. And that's not our vision, and that's not what our clients really want to pay for. They want to have scalp-free tickets, but they don't really care about the philosophical way of how it was computed. They just want to have it working. And now I'll shut it down. And so we merged the primary and secondary markets onto one marketplace on blockchain, and we register all these smart tickets. And so if you have this ticket, you can put it for sale on the blockchain. It will be registered that you are not allowed to sell it for a profit, or if you are, it will be registered with which margin. And we think that is the most important aspects that need to be registered in the blockchain. So we started working with Statebox to create a Petri net to test out if we could do some of our smart contracts that are now Solidity, and but then write them in a Petri net and compile them to the blockchain, allowing us also to stay blockchain agnostic, because we don't want to make a bet on only using Ethereum, but locking ourselves in by only using Solidity. So we thought using Statebox and Petri net was a good way to really focus on our added value of using blockchain and decentralization without locking ourselves into a certain chain particular. So these are some of the benefits, some of the demands we have. We have to process very high loads. Computation cost is very low. Doing a lot on the blockchain is also really privacy a little bit risky, because if it's on a blockchain, then it will be there forever, and GDPR doesn't like that, and these laws change all the time. So that's also why I think the Statebox solution is really elegant, because we can prove a certain event was ticketed fairly and transparently without disclosing all the data on the blockchain necessarily. Only register what really matters. So we started working with the Statebox team to create a Petri net. We're still fully in the process of actually making it work, and we probably can't have it working yet next week when we're going to do 50,000 tickets for Jochem Meijer, but we will have it running probably around the end of the month. So our Petri net currently looks like something like this. I don't have this fancy token moving around, but yeah, you'll see enough of that today later, and I think a lot of you already have. I can slowly a little bit explain a bit about it. A ticket is a token. It starts up there. An event organizer decides if it is blocked or unblocked, and it will be put for sale in a fresh state. And when somebody buys it, a customer buys it, it will own the ticket and it can put it for sale again. It's like it merges here, resale and fresh are the primary and secondary markets. And at the end of the event, all tickets will end up at the same place. So it's a completely closed system because an expired ticket doesn't have to be, we know where it will end up. So we know it's a finite system. Yeah, so that's how we are implementing Petri net at the moment with Statebox, and we're really looking forward to what it will bring us. And yeah, that was about it.
I like the vision, but what happens if my phone is broken? Because it's broken and I couldn't get a ticket yesterday.
So we're working on these kind of edge cases in these cases. So in this case, you would have to contact support, and you will get a PDF ticket, printout ticket, which you would not be able to resell again because it would be on your name, for example. So there are a lot of edge cases we have to encounter, also especially when we do such a big sale. Some people don't even have a phone, or they use the phone of the employer, or yeah, there's a lot of cases that need to be addressed, and so this Petri net will become a lot more complex when we start adding these. Somebody lost his phone, what to do, so there will be another loop on it. But this is a really simplified one, actually the most simple version. So yeah, it will get more complex for this edge case, but yeah.
How do you justify to your clients what I expect to be higher operational costs if you use the blockchain?
So a lot of clients, our clients, Jochem Meijer, from Heck, they really hate it when their fans get ripped off. So they really like the fact that by this solution, because they always get tweeted at from why are you selling it for 120 euros. They said, I'm not selling it, somebody else is selling it. It's endless for them, they really hate it, so they are willing to pay a premium for scalp-free tickets. And from the perspective of event organizer, they also like the fact that their data is cleaner, because when scalpers buy tickets, you don't really know who's actually attended the event. And I know a lot of you pay with blockchain, with crypto, so not a lot of you have used our tickets, but we're also able to send push notifications to people because the tickets are locked to their identity. And this is stadiums also find it really interesting, because then they can do crowd control and say, oh, please don't to the metro yet, it's really crowded, drink a beer, here have some discount tokens. So you can really dynamically ensure safety of crowds. So that's really the big benefit for event organizers, and they mainly pay for that, and not necessarily for the fact that it's run decentralized or transparent.
And are you the only one in the field currently offering the scale?
I would say we're the only company and project that is actually doing it at a commercial scale. So for Carré wouldn't even know they're using Ethereum or our token. A lot of projects do it, but they do it more like only for the blockchain space. So yeah, I think we're the only really serious commercial part at the moment.
One more question over here.
Yeah, so
I didn't hear the last question, so maybe I'm repeating it. It's, so one of the big motivations for you guys is you want to prevent scalping. So just wanted to understand technically how that's done. Is it sort of like a smart contract that essentially has, so is it the vendor, the person who's selling the tickets can then put all kinds of rules on what then you can do with this ticket once you own it, and then that gets enforced by the blockchain? Is that essentially the idea?
Yeah, that's it. And when you want to sell your ticket, you send it to anonymously to a market which only also includes the primary ticket stack. So when you put it for sale, from the perspective of someone who is buying it, they don't know if they're buying it from some consumer or from
someone who can't go, for example.
Yeah, so and you'll just put it back on the stack, on the original stack, and we'll get we call it fresh tickets and resale tickets. So yeah,
and at that point where I sell my ticket to someone else, you guys give me a refund? Is that?
Yeah. So then because you paid initially, and you get the money back. Yeah.
And also maybe, I mean the Petrinet stuff that you showed at the end. Wasn't really clear to me what Petrinets actually do for you guys. So is it part of your design process, or is it something that is actually more intimately connected with the blockchain?
So at the moment we're not using this Petrinet, but we want to in the future. We have a lot of facility smart contracts at the moment, which are really slow and cost a lot of. We basically have to run them completely separately, and they will cost like a few days to actually.
Okay, so the idea is to like use this as an inspiration for a better way to do smart contracts.
Yeah, we're going to use this as soon as possible, just to run it besides our current system. Check out if the data is still correct, and then expand on it later.
Thanks a lot.